Hey guys, welcome back to the Reversal Roundup Street Fighter League edition. I'm Logan Sama, and right here every week we round up all of the exciting fixtures that happen across Europe, America and Japan on Street Fighter League this past week. There's been some great action, so let's not delay any further and jump straight into Europe Week 3. Hey, welcome back. It is Week 3 on Street Fighter League Pro Europe saw Wild Blast open up in the first fixture. They look to get back onto winning ways after a losing start in their first game. They had the unenviable task of going up against one of the favourites in BMS, and the away team put forward a lineup of Killzyu's Karin, TKR's Chun-Li, and Mr. Crimson's Dalsim. The recently qualified Capcom Cup finalist Takamura of Belgium stepped up to take on Killzyu with his newly returned Akuma, and it was looking sharp in the early games. But Killzyu put on an absolute display to bring it back and close out with a perfect here in a dominant victory, stamping his mark on SFL as one of the names to watch. Spanish Fang practitioner Vega Patch fancied his chances against TKR, but it was a clean 2-0 as TKR's Chun-Li had too many answers for Vega Patch's zoning. And in the third anchor match, it was one of the most informed players in the world, just demonstrating how strong he is at the moment. Mr. Crimson's Dalsim just looking sublime against Momi's Kami with a 3-0 victory.
He's gonna do a low again. I get you. Anybody's gonna do it.
Ah, there you have it. 6 rounds.
Making it a big 40 points win on the board for Team BMS. In the second fixture of the week, Reason Gaming went up against Mouse Sports in the away side. And with a bit of a shake-up to their lineup, they put forward the 4 fills first with Falk, Shax with Laura, and Problem X in the anchor position with M. Bison, as Broski's Oro sat out on the sidelines. Off the back of his big victory against Luffy last week, MQS was feeling confident and put himself in against the UK and Ireland qualifier for Capcom Cup, the 4 fills. And in a clean 2-0 victory, Fills opened up with a 10 points on the board for Mouse.
Wow.
Multi-character specialist Shax stepped up and drew for his Laura and had an incredibly dominant performance against Soundboy, one of the favoured names in the event. A clean 2-0 sweep put Mouse in a dominant position, and it was the final boss himself, Problem X, who was ready for the challenge in the anchor match. But so was One Step Layered, who stepped up with his Karin.
He's a world-class player, of course. He's the best Bison in the world, but I'm kind of good too.
I'm kind of good too.
But Problem X proved to be better than kind of good in a dominant display. He swept 3-0, including this stun combo, and it was a big 40 points on the board. A massive statement from Mouse to follow up that big win from BMS this week. 2 of the favourite teams showing exactly why they are favoured. The leaderboard starting to look as predicted, with Mouse, 00 Nation and BMS taking the top spots, and Luffy's Team GO there as well, despite still looking for a win. Wild Blast only putting 10 points on the board despite their talented roster. Hopefully they can get themselves together and start delivering. Next week, we can look forward to 00 Nation facing off against BMS, which is going to be a heated one, and GO against Mouse. All 4 of the top 4 ranked teams at the moment going at it, fighting for supremacy. That's going to be a great week on SFL Europe next week.
This is Street Fighter League.
Let's cross the Atlantic over to SFL Pro US, and in week 3 we had 2 incredible fixtures in CL Gaming against NASA and Bandits, and Panda Global faced Endemic in an all-USA showdown. First up, NASA and Bandits were designated the away team, and they put forward a lineup which saw Big Bird Ken, Kaba playing with his Guile, and Angry Bird also drawing for the Ken, looking for these Lukes. In the first match, we saw Big Bird getting the job done 2-0 against Samurai, getting that Luke pick he was looking for. 10 points behind, Filipino Man stepped up to try and take on Kaba with his Rose. and his unconventional attacking Guile got the job done with a 2-0 victory.
Always a challenge from Cobb and just dashes up with the whiff punish.
Going into the third anchor match, and Chris CCH needed to get the win to square it up against NASA Bandits. It was Angry Bird who stepped up with his Ken, his new main, hoping to repeat the performance of Big Bird. 3 straight games later, Chris CCH had squared it all up. And we are going to a tiebreaker. And whilst conventional logic might say that Big Bird, having already beaten a Luke, would be the better pick, Angry Bird wanted the chance to redeem himself and stayed on to face Chris CCH again. This time round, he was able to get the one victory and claim a 25-20 point win for Team NASA Bandits. In the second fixture, Endemic were the away team, and they put forward a strong lineup once again. Gamerbeat on Luke was joined by the double Capcom Cup champion roster of NuckleDo on Guile and Idom on Poison. Kami stepped up first for Endemic in the mirror match and gave Gamerbeat the business 2-0 straight.
But he's got to block that.
Shine revealed in the interview about the formation of the Endemic team that before NuckleDo joined, he didn't have a team.
He went out of his way to do me a huge favor, actually. At the time, I didn't have any teammates.
NuckleDo did the team another favor by beating Nephew 2-0 with his Guile.
Let's go. I like that.
That put us in a 10-10 tie going into the third and deciding match. And what better way to decide it than one of the most exciting rivalries today in competitive Street Fighter. Idol with the Poison was locked in, and of course Punk stepped up. The opening pick of Vega didn't work out, and he quickly switched over to Luke. Able to take the momentum back, he pushed into an early lead, but it was last game, last round, and Punk was able to close it out and get the 30-10 victory for Panda Global. The Best Friends squad able to get the victory over what is effectively the Avengers of Street Fighter League. Much like the FAV Roto squad in Japan, Endemic are definitely underperforming, still looking for their first win in Street Fighter League US, but they do have 50 points on the board. Team CL Gaming move up into 4th on 45 points. They're behind Endemic, tied on 50 with Panda Global, who have only played 2 fixtures so far, and NASA Bandits sit on top of the standings at the moment, having played 3 games and won all of them. But as every win has been by tiebreaker, they're only on 75 points. These standings are going to change a lot in the coming weeks, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled. And finally, Japan returns with round 7, and on day 1, the first match was Nagoya Oja Bodystar Mildom versus Gyogun. With Gyogun as the away team, they put forward a lineup of Machabo, starting off with Nakali, Mizuwa starting off with Cody, and Mago in the anchor position with Luke. The home team opted to counter Machabo with Fudo, who started out with Poison. As you can see from his record, it's incredibly strong with just the single loss against Kawano's Lucia. Fudo took the first game in dominant fashion and forced Machabo back to the character select screen, where the commentators were postulating as to a change in V system, but it was a huge surprise to see Machabo go for the same character that Kawano got the win with against Fudo some weeks ago. And the Lucia pick looked inspired as the momentum switched round and Machabo started to pick up round after round. Leveling it up 1 battle apiece, Machabo then managed to take Fudo to final game, final round, and the corner pressure just proved too much. Machabo closing out an incredible, surprising victory, and it looks like Lucia is the answer here, or the problem, should I say, for Fudo's Poison. That's 2 losses, both to Lucia counterpicks.
Perfect time to do it. Had he waited for the next sequence, if he had gotten bodied the next sequence with a full...
Next up was Mizuwa's Cody, and the Nagoya team put forward Akira as the counterpick with Kami. Mizuwa took the early lead and put himself in the position to close out the game, but Akira fought back and took it to a final game, final round. The V-trigger in combination with the EX Song proved to be too much pressure for Akira to take, and Mizuho was able to close out the game with a hard-fought victory.
But it's one touch on the side of Mizuho too as well.
In the third and anchor game, Margo was put up with Luke, and in a surprising pick, Narikun was put forward rather than Daigo. In the end, Margo was able to get the job done, and he closed it out 3-1 in a big 40-point victory for the away team, which does huge favors for their league position. Into match number 2, and it was Shinobism Gaming up against Detonation. With Shinobism, the away team, they put forward Fujimura with his Luke, Yamaguchi with his Luke, and Momochi with his Cody in a very familiar lineup. Everyone was happy to see Uryo step forward with his Rose in Game 1 against Fujimura's Luke, and the exhibition of skill on display was sensational.
Custom combos, Alpha 2 style. Live, what else we got with Dag? EXCP waits and baits, and the bar up on him means we're gonna get a super, yes sir.
Uryo was able to close it out 2-0 and set Detonation on an incredible start in this game. With Yamaguchi up next, it was down to Itabashi Zangief to step forward, and a player that we haven't seen as frequently as you might expect on Team Detonation this season. He went for Abigail, and it did not look easy for him at all. Yamaguchi's patient keep-away style paid off for him in the end, and he was able to close it out 2-1 to take the 10 points for Shinobism. And then it came down to the decider, the match that we've all been waiting for, the Cody Mirror, as John Takeuchi went up against Momochi. And it couldn't have been tighter. The first few rounds all decided by timeout sequences or final second showdowns, as it was an absolute nail-biter. But in the first couple of games, it was John Takeuchi who seemed to have the upper hand in the critical moments, and he took a 2-0 lead here.
That's the 1800s. Oh boy.
But Momochi's patience and experience in these pressure situations paid off for him, and the momentum started to turn around as he was the one who took the timeout victory next, and then interrupted to close out an important win to stop the momentum and bring it back to 2-1. This beautiful sway on the V reversal leveled it up to 2 apiece, and we went to a final game with Momochi in full swing and Takeuchi sweating. And in the end, it was a comfortable 5th battle victory for Momochi, who took the 20 points and the victory for his Shinobism Gaming team as they closed it out 30-10. Into day 2, and this fixture was a must-win for both teams. Floundering Ixa were the away side, and they have not been able to buy a win this season. Rock bottom of the table. They're going up against FAV, who have an incredible stack squad and are absolutely underperforming. They need to turn their season around, and quickly. Ixa put forward a lineup of Crusher with Birdie, Storm Kubo using Abigail, and Inaba in the anchor position with M. Bison. Sako stepped up for FAV, and with the Monat took an early lead, but Crusher managed to stay alive, defending this set point in a timeout victory. But there was no saving him in the third and final battle, as Sako caught him in this checkmate situation and got the critical art chip out for the first 10 points.
That chip no dip situation, Crusher has to avoid the super, but he can't, as Sako was...
With Storm Kubo opting to use Abigail, it was Bonchan who stepped forward with his Sagat, and he took it all the way back to traditional Street Fighter with the zoning and the anti-airs, which closed the door on Storm Kubo and got him this 2-0 victory.
Yep, that's the one.
All the pressure fell on Inaba as his team were 20 points down, and Toromeshi stepped forward rather than Takedo in this matchup, which is often looked at as unfavorable for Dalsim. Torimeshi, however, didn't get that memo, and it looked like Dalsim was the greatest rushdown character in the game. The corner pressure proving too strong, and he cruised into this 2-0 lead.
So important, but now he's gonna get cooked up. There's gonna be so...
Inaba tried to fight back, but Torimeshi managed to close out the set with a 3-0 sweep and a 40-point victory for FAV, which leaves Ixa completely out of the running, but FAV challenging once again as they move up the leaderboard. You gotta look all the way up to the leaderboard at the top to find Good 8 squad, who are going up against Saishunkan Seoul in the 4th fixture of the round. Having won every single one of their previous fixtures, Good 8 squad have a perfect record. On the away side, they opened up with a very familiar looking lineup: Gachikun with Rashid, Dogura with M. Bison, and Kowano with that Colleen. And Saishunkan Seoul tried to counter with their Urians. First up, Shuto. But Gachikun was able to close it out 2-1 to get the first 10 points for the away team. Next up, it was two of the most experienced players in Street Fighter League Japan, as Nemo went forward with Urian again up against Dogura. But the man with the undefeated record for Good 8 squad got the 2-0 win and put his team in a commanding 20-point lead. And it came down once again to this third match as Higuchi stepped forward for the home team to counter Kowano. Of course, we know Kowano has a lot of experience in this matchup and he's seen a lot of success against Daigo's Guile. And it looked like he had things under control here in the first game. But one of the most talented young players in Japan today reminded us that he is not Daigo, and he started stepping up the pace, bringing it back and eventually taking the lead as we went into our fourth battle. Higuchi managed to close out a 3-1 victory and level it up 20 points aside as we go into a tiebreaker match, which puts us in a very interesting situation. Higuchi remained on for Saishunkan Seoul, and he is in incredible form. He's won every single time he's been on in Street Fighter League Japan. But Good 8 squad had a final boss of their own, and Dogura stepped up as it was perfect record versus perfect record in this tiebreaker match. In the end, it was Dogura who managed to close it out, not only to maintain his perfect record, but to maintain the perfect record of the Good 8 squad, who take the 25-20 point victory and stay firmly at the top.
Dogura, and Higuchi knew it too. He's willing to spend it, but the anti-air is still there. The winning devil from a Good 8 squad.
5 weeks at the top of the table for the Good 8 squad mean that they are cruising towards the playoffs, and the Nagoya Oja Body Star Mildon team dropped one spot behind Shinobism, who move up to second. Gyogun's victory means they continue in 4th place, but FAV's performance means they pick up all the way from 7th into 5th, as Detonation drop down and Ixa remain locked in 8th place at the bottom of the league. Next week is the top of the table clash as Good 8 squad go against Shinobism Gaming, and Saishunkan Seoul face Nagoya Oja Body Star Mildon. Then in day 2, it's Detonation going against V6 Plus FAV Roto Gaming, and Ixa are still battling for points as they face Gyogun in the 4th match. Alright guys, that brings us to the end. We are now up to date with the Street Fighter League action from the past week. The only thing that there is for me to ask you guys is to get involved in the comments. Who was your MVP player this week across all of the regions? Just one. If we were to put head-to-head, Europe, Japan, the US, which one player would you guys say stood out for you across this week's fixtures? Don't forget, every week we round up the rest of the FGC in our traditional roundup show that's right here on YouTube if you've missed it. And we do the EX edition of the roundup live on Twitch every Wednesday night, where we discuss the most important and hot topics in the FGC with the reversal team plus guests. Thanks so much to Capcom, of course, for putting on Street Fighter League and all of their broadcast partners, making some incredible matches available to us every week. Thank you to the players for putting on so much great performances, and thank you to you guys for watching, getting involved, sharing the content, commenting, liking, and of course following or subscribing on whatever platforms we're on. We'll see you same time next week for more Street Fighter League action here at the Roundup. Until then, take care.